The following is intended for mature audiences only. It contains adult themes. Viewer discretion is advised.
Reality TV is one of the best things that has happened to the 21st century in terms of entertainment. Where else would you get to see pop, K-pop, people doing tattoos, dancing kids, men with incredibly long beards, and a room full of fierce drag queens? When future generations look back at reality TV in 100 years' time, we hope they will see how far we've advanced from the awkward and often embarrassing infancy of television in the 20th century. Don't get me wrong, the 20th century produced a lot of excellent TV shows which were trailblazing. However, it has a lot of questionable and bad stuff too. Hindsight gives us 2020 vision when we look at vintage TV, and we say to ourselves, how did they get away with it? People should have done this, people could have done that. Moreover, we wag our fingers and say what we would have done if we were there at the time. So let's cast that critical eye that we cast towards 20th century TV, towards reality TV. As much as we love it, we also know there's a dark side. We don't like to acknowledge it that often because reality TV is supposed to be escapism, harmless fun, and loved by the masses. But so will all the other shows of the past that we now criticise.
You just told me that you were a little bit annoyed that you had to wait 3 hours to come in here and get your shot when there are people that would wait years to do so. So I am now angry at you, who I don't like at all.
Wow. So we're going to evict you, but you need to stick around so we can get it on camera.
So I was told the day after that, yeah, I was being evicted deducted from the show, and that I would have no chance of winning any money, but we'd have to wait for the film crew to arrive back on set to be able to film things, and I was basically placed in lockdown for 2 days.
I can't do this all by myself, so I clearly need some help.
Made a lot of wild accusations about you, about your operation.
Look at me. I am kind. I am smart. I am important.
So why do reality TV shows swear ordinary people to a lifetime of secrecy? Disclaimer time. I'm not a legal professional and I'm not a mental health expert. When I went on a reality TV show, the only experience I had in mental health were 3 modules of psychology at university and an entry-level counselling certificate. I haven't added to any of those since. So all I had going into a reality TV show was prior knowledge of psychology, but in no way, shape or form am I an expert. I had some experience of providing mental health and well-being sessions in the community and within facilities and hospitals. Again, that does not make me an expert in this field, and that is why I consulted people who have PhDs, doctorates, written papers and beyond in this particular field to make this video. When I appeared on Big Brother back in the day, I put my bad experience down to the production team. Well, being incredibly right-wing, with incredible white privilege and massive amount of white fragility. I mean, if Hitler Youth fell in love with the children of the corn and they had babies, the babies would grow up to be the people in the production team. Someone later said to me, in hindsight, you should have never been the only one, because when you see that amount of fancy white people grinning and laughing at you, you know you are there for no good reason. If it was a horror movie, I would have been the first to die. Anyway, I didn't let that put me off reality TV because that was my experience, and I just assumed production teams over the country and throughout the world would be different. Over the years, I began to notice certain things about reality TV shows. I even stopped watching some shows when the contestants started complaining. While I supported the people on the show, I wasn't going to support production teams or the lawyers behind the show. Now, I love drag and I love RuPaul's Drag Race. It's one of my favourite reality TV shows of all time. I've watched all the seasons and I've watched every single nation. But when the contestants were telling the world about their treatment, it began to take away some of my enjoyment. I also began to note there were similarities between their contract and the contract that I had in Big Brother. So I started to dig a little bit further.
Shut your damn mouth and stay in your place. Unfortunately, I'm the adult in the room. And when you're the adult in the room, you can either do 2 things. You can shut your mouth and stay in your place, or you can know your place and stand your ground.
불타오르네.
So in this video, I will be breaking my NDA so other people don't have to. As I see it, my NDA is 15 years old. It's a teenager. Who really cares? So what I will be doing will be going through my contract and my treatment and comparing it to the treatment and contracts of other people on other reality TV shows, including RuPaul's Drag Race.
Nope.
A bit of a housekeeping here. A lot of people think the contestants on Drag Race sign a contract with RuPaul. They signed the contract with World of Wonder, and RuPaul is not the CEO of World of Wonder. She is a client of World of Wonder. Now, reality TV is not CCTV, as some people think. If it was, it'd be really boring. The reality TV we're talking about is part contest, part documentary, and part drama. Celebrity versions of shows and reality TV series have different contracts, so we won't be discussing them in this video. A disclaimer here, not all these shows will have the types of contracts I will be discussing. I am not implying that they do, and the treatment of the people on these shows might be very different to my own. Recently, when the vixen from RuPaul's Drag Race stated she felt like a slave on the show, this was met with giggles, laughs, and a general backlash. Many people said being a slave and slavery was something like this, but this is the violence or brutality of slavery. A slave is any human who is owned by another human.
When one human being is owned by another, is their property, or chattel, and deprived of most of the rights ordinarily held by free persons.
So let's look if my Big Brother contract and those like it have any similarities to slavery. Over the years, several Big Brother contracts have been leaked online. They're pretty much similar to each other. My contract and many like it are drawn up by the corporate lawyers of a reality TV production company. They can use your image any way they want. Whether they pay you is 100% up to them. How they treat you is 100% up to them. And there is no lawyer or union input on your behalf. The contract is 100% in their favour. Very skillful lawyers are even able to condense all the legal jargon in a 100-page contract into a 1-page waiver. So what do real lawyers say about these contracts and waivers whenever they've read them? Well, they're slave contracts. So what do mental health experts and specialists say about these type of contracts? I'm using UK organisations because I'm based in the UK.
The Mental Health Foundation received emails and telephone calls from concerned members of the public worried about Shahbaz Chowdhury's condition. They frantically contacted Channel 4.
Housemates are intensively screened by professionals to ensure they are psychologically strong enough to cope with their experiences.
Mental health organisations wanted to know what was in the contract. They even said they would not divulge secrets, and they were met with this response.
Nope.
So when mental health organisations reached out to me, I told them the terms and conditions of the contract, and this is what they said.
It's a unilateral, or slave contract.
If the Vixen's contract was anything similar to my contract, well, where's the lie?
Why are these contracts bad?
Buried under all that legal jargon are some pretty rough terms and conditions that bear very little similarity to any normal employment contract.
In my contract it stated material containing me may be altered, modified, edited, cut, rearranged, adapted, dubbed, and revised. I do not hold producers liable for intentional or negligent infliction of emotional distress, defamation, false statement about another that unjustly harms their reputation.
Keep all the information in this contract a secret for the remainder of your life.
And if you reveal information, then they threaten you with court, and they can buy more legal people than you can buy cheap stocks. The irony is when they give you the contract, they do admit it is not a favourable contract, but they blame their legal team. They say they would never exploit you because they like you, they're your friends, and they want you to have fun. Are these contracts ethical? Are they legal?
The onus of the moral issue here is with the producers and broadcasters. Psychologists should refuse to work for reality TV shows unless they have an independent ethics committee to safeguard the contestants' well-being.
Altered, modified, edited, cut, rearranged, adapted, dubbed, revised.
People don't realise the material won't just be altered on the show, it will be altered everywhere else as well.
If I am eliminated, the decision to eliminate me shall be final and binding and not subject to challenge or appeal.
It's a thumbs down for ethical, but they are legal. They are designed so you are unlikely to sue, and if you do sue, you are unlikely to win.
So, what about the mental health of people who appear on these shows?
Reality TV shows always like to reassure the audience they have a robust screening process. This allows the audience to join in the fun without guilt. But mental health specialists are not satisfied with a generic adjective. They want to know the process. Remember what Big Brother told them about Shabazz?
Housemates are intensively screened by professionals to ensure they are psychologically strong enough to cope with their experiences.
However, just like the contract, Big Brother would not divulge their mental health screening process to independent experts.
Nope.
Using my prior knowledge of psychology, I was able to pass on my psychological assessment onto the people that really knew their stuff. It was divided into two parts. Part A, personality. Part B, psychology.
Personality.
Think of this more as sifting as opposed to screening, and they're getting rid of the people they don't want. Sadly, if you're an introvert, reality TV does not want you. The production does not have the time, patience, or the ability to work with people who process the world inside their heads. Production can always make extroverts and ambiverts like me look like introverts by editing or just not filming you at all.
Nope.
Anyone remember Sherry Pie from season 13? Being edited out just doesn't happen to the predators. So how do you prove that you're not an introvert? Well, you take a personality test. The production staff mark it. They pass it on to the psychologist. You have a few laughs with the psychologist. You have a few laughs with the production. They pretend they love you. And that's the first stage.
Psychology. A quick side note, Big Brother is unique as while they are an entertainment show they have always touted themselves as a social experiment. The terms and conditions of the contract. The screening process, unqualified staff and swearing participants to secrecy would in fact invalidate this show from being considered any sort of approved ethical social experiment, unless it was approved by Hitler or a serial killer. Anyway, to keep up the pretense and to give it credibility with blissfully ignorant viewers, they would hire two experts. The first one would be in front of the camera, and they would have no interaction with contestants. They would just be there to comment on footage selected by production. So they are nothing more than a performing seal. The second expert was behind the scenes. He did the initial screening after the personality test and provided what he called support on the show. I likened this psychologist to a doctor that treated bullet wounds and did not report them to authorities in exchange for large sums of cash. He did not like my analogy. I could not be associated with a program that provoked violence for entertainment.
So, what did this intensive screening process entail? Again, this is another sifting process. People assume that mental health screening means that you reject people with common mental health disorders, but anyone watching reality TV in the last 2 decades would know that such people are quite commonplace. So how about addictions and dependency? Well, we see them too. So, who are they sifting out? There are 3 types of people that never get past the audition process.
불타오르네.
People that would hold grudges and break the law if they were treated badly. Some may say this is a good thing because you are protecting people against criminal action. However, they're protecting something, but it's not people. They're protecting their public liability insurance. People who will resort to criminal acts or criminal damage under pressure are too high of a risk, and insurers have to guarantee that they won't be paying out. Well, not this type of Avenger.
Revenge, retaliation, retribution, and vengeance.
Production is simply scared, terrified, petrified of the lone wolf grudge holder.
What did you do?
So no John Wilkes Booth and no John Rambo. No militia, mercenaries, guns for hire, or even military. Now, if military is used on reality TV shows, they're treated well and with respect, and it's not because production is patriotic. No gangsters, no gang members. The risk of reprisals is far too high. People with mental health issues, learning disabilities or addictions are not purposely recruited, they're just not sifted out, as production don't really care. So that brings us to the final group of people they do sift out and they do reject. They want to know how you reacted in the past to betrayal, bullying, and unfair treatment. If you were bullied at school, well, that's great for them because that will give them a good indication how you may potentially act if they choose you as fodder or somebody that they're going to mistreat. Anxiety, depression, self-harm, suicidal, anger, these are absolute gems for reality TV. And these are the reactions they want you to have. But if you were bullied and thought about stalking your bully on the internet or in real life, or even had the tiniest thoughts of going on any kind of spree, well, they don't want you.
No introverts. And can we get away with it?
Professor David Wilson claimed that the Big Brother psychologists were effectively little more than casting agents.
So why do some people on reality TV shows look like they've come from a maximum security psychiatric unit?
In my contract it stated material containing me may be altered, modified, edited, cut, rearranged, adapted, dubbed, and revised.
People who get cast are more likely to harm themselves than other people, so they're not going to turn around and harm production, and they're not going to turn around and harm the people abusing them. So let's see how effective the screening process was in my era.
Remember you said that.
"100% successful, no members of production were harmed. First of all, the terms and conditions of the contract were at blatant odds with providing anyone psychological support. Production can abuse you emotionally, but if you talk to the psychologist afterwards, you won't be scarred for life. This is an odd and erroneous approach to take, as that is not how psychology or the mind works. Access to 1,000 psychologists wouldn't help you if production staff crossed the line.
However, the Big Brother contract says the exact opposite. I do not hold producers liable for intentional or negligent infliction of emotional distress or defamation.
My example is case in point. I brought 3 suitcases with me. I was told I could only bring 1 on set. After 7 days, I didn't even have access to 1. Producers refused to give me back my suitcase or any of the contents. Instead, they wanted me to talk about my emotions. Bear in mind, these people aren't trained in mental health or any sort of counselling. They just got some sort of kick out of me feeling bad. After about 40 minutes back and forth, I just quit and said I wanted to leave. The producer then said, did I want to see the psychologist? And I asked if the psychologist had my suitcase. He said no, so I said I don't want to see the psychologist. The psychologist later said the withholding of my suitcase was nothing to do with him, as the production and execution of the show was nothing to do with him whatsoever, and he couldn't tell the production staff what to do. So I wondered why he was there at all. A few months after leaving the show, I thought about it and realised it was a great business plan. It was a surefire way for the psychologist to get clients. The production could mess people up mentally, and the psychologist would attempt, and I say attempt very loosely, to fix them up.
I realized very quickly that they were putting housemates in situations that one would never have been able to do in academic research.
No one is saying reality TV is 100% bad. Mental health professionals and people like myself just can't see the need for production to use people as fodder. You can make somebody a star without treating another person like dirt.
Making money.
Most reality TV shows will have a tie-in agency built into the contract. They can get people work who are contenders, but if you're problematic like me, they're assigned to you to ensure that you don't say things you're not supposed to say and you're not breaking the contract. An agent is that important that I was only allowed to leave the Big Brother set if I agreed to speak to the agent. People always assume that internet trolls are 12-year-old boys. Well, they may take the bait and they may run with it, but the people who are the catalysts and initiate the hate will come from the production team itself. They will saturate the media and social media with the narrative they've given you. A tabloid journalist contacted me 6 weeks after the show to tell me that Big Brother was still releasing negative press releases about me. I appeared on reality TV in the UK. 100% of the staff were white, and they wrote my storyline.
We must actively recruit black and POCs.
UK media has a very poor relationship with black women. While it often celebrates deceased black women who fought historical racism, it vilifies and rejects living black women who point out inequalities and racism in modern-day society.
Hanging on to colonial ideas of black females and using media to engineer what black females should be like, as opposed to accepting real personalities and experiences. Be sassy. Give opinions. But don't make decisions of any significant importance. Put others before yourself and live for their approval.
Positive traits in white men are seen as negative traits in black women, so we don't get a great deal of support. Watching the American version of RuPaul's Drag Race, the production does seem to be more cosmopolitan than in the UK. However, it does sadden me when they do use racial stereotypes or ethnic stereotypes. I often wonder if they have any Asian storyline producers, because the storylines for Asian queens tends to be a little bit one-dimensional. My audition process was like walking through a loaf of bland, white sliced bread. Each slice was the same as the first. Not even the sight of a whole grain, a piece of bran, a rice seed to make it interesting. The production saw themselves as a default race and normal people, and other people like myself with mutations or abnormalities. They just saw people that had different experiences as being scary, weird, threatening, and unlikable. I liked rap music, Jamaican dancehall, Korean and Japanese culture, and I lived a holistic lifestyle, and I was a vegetarian. All that made me a threat to the British way of life.
Angry, aggressive weirdo. Human fodder are the people who were never contenders. We recruit them for hatred, ridicule and disgust, or just to make contenders look better by comparison. We can treat them badly as no one generally cares about them, ha ha ha. My role is to befriend human fodder, and to lull them into a false sense of friendship. Once the cameras start rolling, they will realize I have betrayed them. Ha ha ha. Production staff are unseen participants. We are not actually observers.
What people don't realise is the production participate in the show as well. You just don't see them. Case in point, my antihistamines. I have asthma, eczema, various skin disorders, and I have to take an antihistamine tablet every morning. The production took away my tablets and said this was for safety. Later on, the nurse and the psychologist said this was nothing to do with them. It was purely a producer's choice. That may not seem problematic, but I had to wait after a request 90 minutes to 6.5 hours for one tablet. They just wanted to make me angry so they could use that in an unrelated sequence. I watch reality TV shows for the contestants and not for the skills of the production team. Drag Race Down Under had so much production, presence, engineering and manipulation they should have just sat on RuPaul's lap during the judging. It made the show toxic and unwatchable. However, they are not the only ones.
Vincent, you know there used to be boy bands years ago and there was 5 of them. There's always one who didn't sing. Mm-hmm. That's you. So I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Thank you.
This guy probably does 500 auditions a year.
He's dull and boring.
Sorry, man. You guys are going to kill it. Hey, thanks, homie.
Stand by, guys.
Take care.
That was super lit. And go, guys. Right to the team. Look at that energy.
Make it all look as if we are not even there. But I am here doing producer stuff.
I'm sorry, it's a no today.
Talisa.
Sorry, it's a no for now.
You told me to sing a Pink song. I didn't want to sing a Pink song. You guys told me to sing a Pink song.
We never told you to sing a Pink song. We never told you to sing a Pink song.
I wanted to be me. You guys told me to sing a Pink song.
We heard a second song.
Whoa. We never told you to sing a Pink song. Did you hear that come out of our mouths, any of us?
Listen, we had a second song from you as well.
Zoe, you sang a second song.
Zoe,
you did.
It was your audition and you messed up. I'm sorry.
Keep the fantasy that this is all real life going. Or else.
I told her to sing that Pink song.
The worst thing you can do on a reality TV show is to not go along with the storyline production have taken weeks to create for you. That's really selfish.
Exploitation of the most vulnerable.
While production companies may not specifically target the most vulnerable in society, they are definitely seen as a bonus on reality TV. They are easier to manipulate and less likely to see that they are being set up. They will go along with production even if it affects them in a negative way.
Following incidents of bizarre behavior and a huge row with fellow housemates, Chowdhury told housemates, "I'm a dead man walking. I came to die on this program, I'm going to prove it."
The only bizarre thing to me was how a group of adults could sit back and watch another human being descend into suicidal distress, sit back and do absolutely nothing apart from gleefully reporting it and trying to get tabloid front covers and ratings for the show.
You don't want to upset Big Brother Shabazz and you signed the contract. Shabazz has now apologized to producers for misleading them about his mental health issues.
I am the actual victim.
Remember you said that.
Production knows exactly what they are doing when they recruit people from the most vulnerable groups.
That you might want to shove a lot of metal right at your...
Back to you. Been a pleasure.
Keep going, kid.
Whoa.
I've got time for that.
I'm not a violent person, thank you.
Anyway, yes or no?
I would have said yes.
Let's push her through rounds of auditions. Tell her we love her and not to change, just be yourself, the judges will love you too.
Hearing you discuss me, and
you heard all that? When I was
I heard all that.
When I was like, what else? I was like, I was like, Tamisha, for someone that sells.
I heard all that. And that's why I came in there. Well, let me show this bitch. You know what I'm saying? So, but you didn't know I heard all that. You get what I'm saying?
That was the first time I'm hearing it out.
That's what I'm saying. Like, no one knew that we were outside waiting for y'all to finish that conversation to come in. And you notice when I first came in, I didn't say a word. I sat straight down. And I was like, bitch, I'm hot right now. Don't ask me no questions. We're going to be fine. And you saying, what do you think? I was like, oh, here you go, bitch. This is what, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you like, bitch, where did that come from? But you didn't know we had just listened to y'all on the outside. So that's, so that's where it came from.
We can lock up contestants to prevent them accessing the media before we do. We want to control the narrative.
If you look hard enough, you'll find your reality TV twin. We almost had an identical storyline, and that's because production is lazy.
In my contract it stated material containing me may be altered, modified, edited, cut, rearranged, adapted, dubbed, and revised.
She asked to leave after not winning her suitcase back on the show. She remained on set and at Elstree for a further 20+ hours as we were making arrangements for her departure. In the Big Brother contract it states if you ask to leave early it can take up to 24 hours before it may be possible to do so. We did not detain her. It was her contractual obligation.
Broadcasters and producers have used their platform to make the public believe their behavior is normal, ethical and acceptable. Chronic mental health issues are inevitable, even for people with no existing conditions. It's reckless from start to finish.
Let's not BS. If you don't address these 3 foundational faults in reality TV, you can hire 1 million psychologists, but people will still continue to commit suicide or have severe mental health issues after appearing on these shows. The power now lies with the viewers because production doesn't look like they will be changing anything anytime soon.